Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jack's Film Room. Hope you guys join me on this journey as we start a new series called Drive of the Week. This is a series that I want to do in which I pick out a drive or a series of plays that happened this past week in football, and I make a video about it. I tell you guys about what's going on. I tell you guys about what plays they call, and I just want this to be a tool in which you guys can learn about the game of football and I can express my love and passion for the game. If you don't mind taking a moment to subscribe to the channel and liking the video, it would mean a whole lot to me. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold has done so much for the Vikings this year. They started out the year with JJ McCarthy getting hurt and not knowing if his performance was going to be good enough. The Vikings had a roster that was looking like to be a playoff caliber team, but quarterback is the most important position. And having someone like Sam Darnold at the helm turned off a lot of people. They didn't know if he was going to be good enough. His stint with the Jets wasn't very that great. Bounced around, went to Carolina, and then he ended up in Minnesota. And so far this season, Darnold has shown us nothing but the fact that he is a starting caliber quarterback in the National Football League. That's not to say he has been perfect. Obviously, there's been games where he was sky high, and then there's been games where he was down low. And I wanted to take a moment and appreciate what Sam Darnold has been doing for the Minnesota Vikings, especially on this one drive at the end of the game against the Arizona Cardinals. The situation that the Vikings are in isn't bad on the surface, but when you consider what happened at the start and the middle of the game for the Vikings, it's not really that great. They're down to what is essentially the final drive of their game against the Cardinals. They only scored 16 points. It's 22-16 so far. And the offense started picking up the pieces near the back half of this game. They have roughly 3 minutes and 20 seconds to score a touchdown. You need an extra point to go into the lead. Sam Darnold needs to do two things. He needs to have incredible throws with great precision, but he also needs to be a field general. He needs to direct his guys around the field, but you also have Kevin O'Connell who needs to call great plays as well. I really like this drive that Minnesota had. Ended up in a touchdown, spoiler alert. And I thought it was a great idea to dissect this drive and see what happened from a schematic standpoint. Before we start, I wanted to shout out my good friend, Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings podcast. I'm totally not a Vikings fan. I'm a Broncos country guy myself, but I love listening to him. He does a great job talking about scheme, talking about players. He has a great knowledge of the game. So if you don't mind checking him out, I have the link in the description below so you can go subscribe to his channel. And with that in mind, let's get into the breakdown. The Vikings start the drive on their own 30-yard line. Kevin O'Connell lines up his guys in a standard 3-by-1 formation, and then Sam Darnold motions Justin Jefferson into the backfield. The Cardinals don't move, and Darnold knows they're in some sort of zone coverage. Jalen Thompson is slowly rotating down, while Budda Baker, on the other hand, is looking to launch deep. An easy tell for cover three. Anytime you see the safeties on different levels, it's a nice way to understand what coverage shell they might be in. If nobody moves, it's likely a zone coverage. And since there's only so many zone coverages you can run out of one high or a middle field closed, you have a relatively easy time knowing that this is cover three. The Vikings run a deep out by Jordan Addison, located at the bottom of your screen, and send Jefferson on a simple choice route. Jay Jettis knows coming out of the backfield that he is bracketed by both the flat and hook defenders, and wisely sits it down in the soft spot for an easy 5-yard gain. AOC knows that he has a lot of time left on the clock. He has run through about 3 minutes or so he's okay running some play action to open up holes deep inside the Arizona defense. Once again, we see the cover three rotation we just saw last play. Thompson coming up again to play the run, and Baker's dropping deep. KOC decides to dial up the classic deep play dagger. My depth on dagger plays in college was close to 12 or maybe even 15 yards, but in the Shanahan tree, they run them at 20 yards. Addison is a condensed alignment because of the bunch set, so he has to spray his deep dig route to help create space for himself by widening the cornerback. Kieran Naylor has two options on his route. Against two high, he needs to split the safeties, but against one high, he needs to cross the face of the safety to create a triangle for Addison to find. Darnold throws a beautiful ball right into the second window for a 26-yard gain, and the Vikings now have all the momentum in the world. Minnesota is now in hurry up mode, trying to keep the pressure on Arizona, so they line up in the exact same formation. John Gannon, seemingly not wanting to change out of his defensive play, calls cover three once again. Vikings run my favorite one play duo and look to have this all blocked up nicely until Blake Brandell gets absolutely manhandled by Darius Robinson up front, forcing Akers to bounce outside towards the bunch where he gets mobbed up for a modest gain. After a couple well-timed pressures and blitzes by the Cardinals setting up 4th and 5, Darnold has no choice but to once again trust Jefferson. With a simple return motion indicator paired with a quick Okie stick, Darnold can line up a nice throw right on time to one of the best sets of hands in football and gets the first down to keep the game going. Coming out of the 2-minute warning, the Vikings once again line up in a loose bunch before Darnold motions Hawkinson to the other side. Arizona shows pressure rate going man to man across the board, cover zero, and Darnold understands that Hawkinson is going to be running his glance route flat across Thompson's face, so he has no choice but to throw it before Hawkinson can get to his break. Lucky for the Vikings, Thompson holds Hawkinson's right arm, giving Minnesota a fresh set of downs. The Vikings now have the game in their hands, but this play showcases how well coached they are and why they're one of the better teams in the NFL. KOC dials up a nub bunch set with an inside zone tag for Aaron Jones and a bubble tag to Addison. Darnold notices the blitz Arizona brings and knows that the run is likely dead in the water. But he also knows that even though the Cardinals are 3 over 3, Buda Baker is playing way off, so the matchup is more of a 3-on-2 than a 3-on-3. Darnold opens his hips and rips the bubble to Addison. Naylor and Jefferson do just enough on their blocks to force Baker underneath, netted a nice 8 yards, setting up the final play of the drive. AOC then calls a mesh concept for Aaron Jones out of the backfield, and with a good enough rub by Naylor, Jones walked into the end zone for the game-tying score, setting up John Parker Romo for the go-ahead extra point. I think the Vikings showed a lot of strength on this drive. It's clear as day that Darnold trusts his wideouts to be in the right spot, and Kevin O'Connell was smart enough to give Darnold these nice reads to make precise throws and lead the team down the field in crucial moments. I don't think this Vikings team looked as well as they hoped, either in this game or in the past couple of games, but I still think this is a dangerous team that, should they make it to the wild card, they can shake a lot of things up. I mean, this is a team who had Sam Darnold as a QB when JJ McCarthy got hurt. You end up drafting this guy in the first round, and he's not playing. He hasn't played a single game for Minnesota yet. I think this is awesome for the Vikings. I think this showcases how well the coaching and roster you have. And I'm really excited to see how this team performs in the playoffs. I have a lot of confidence in the fact that the Vikings can win these one-score games. Kevin O'Connell has a fantastic record in one-score games. And one-score games, they might be ugly, but the best teams win ugly games, which is, again, part of the reason why I'm very confident in the Vikings moving forward. Thank you for stopping by today's Drive of the Week. If you don't mind, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it if you did. Can't wait to catch you guys later and see you in the next one.